What up, y'all? It's your boy Taz. Today, we're making ribs. This video is specifically made for my old lieutenant, Chase Harper, because he don't know how to make them, and I gotta show him step by step. So y'all hang around, and let's get to cooking. All right, what's up, y'all? So we back in the house here. I ran up to Walmart, got some regular standard old Tyson spare ribs. If you don't like spare ribs, then I will. Go and get you some baby backs if you want to, and cook them however you like. These specifically are the St. Louis style spare ribs. Basically, the difference between the St. Louis style and just normal spare ribs, the St. Louis style kind of comes a little pre-trimmed. Your standard spare ribs are probably going to be about this much more wider and have a whole bunch of other stuff that you got to trim off of, which is fine. I'm a little lazy though, so I just go ahead with the St. Louis style. So first things first is, whenever you're selecting your ribs, you want to make sure that they're roughly evenly thick throughout. You are going to have one side always that's going to be a little bit thinner, which is this side right here. But we're going to pop these out, and I'm going to start the process with you start to finish, so stick around. Alright, y'all, so we got these out right here. First things first is we're going to come over here. We're just going to pat dry these a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier to work with, being able to grab onto things. So one thing to note that kind of annoys me about the Tyson ribs is sometimes they come with the membrane off, sometimes they don't. As you can see here, the membrane is still attached. So all you need is a butter knife. Go ahead, come in here, and you're just going to work this up under the membrane like so, and lift up like that. Oh, try not to pierce through, it'll just make things harder. But get you a paper towel, helps you grip a little bit easier, and you're just going to work this membrane off. Sometimes they're harder, sometimes they're easier. I don't know what makes it harder, what makes it easier, but that's just how it is sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this membrane off, and we'll be back. So as you can see, sometimes it's easier to start in the middle, other times it's easier to start from one side or the other, but the real trick is that paper towel. So it's alright if you don't get all of the membrane off, it's not going to hurt anything. But once you get that off, we're going to just come through here and we're just going to trim some of this off. So this big old point right here, we want to even this out. So I'm just going to go in here and just trim some of this off. While we're doing this, you see all these big chunks of fat and stuff like that right here? We want to kind of get that off too. It doesn't have to be pretty, and it's not going to be perfect, especially if you're just a backyard griller like myself. There's some cats out there that will get real bent out of shape about this type of stuff. I just like to clean mine up a little bit. Alright, so from there, I'm going to flip these over. So these are actually pretty squared up. Remember, you got this big old flab of meat right here, and that's not going to do a whole lot for you. So you can keep this on if you want to. I just like squaring mine up. But you can feel these short ribs. I'll flip this back over here. I don't know if you can see, but you got a little short rib right here, you got another short rib right here, and then this is the beginning of your long rib. So I'll probably keep that medium length one, but this short one and this slab of meat, I'm just come over here and square this off. Like so. Like I said, you can keep this on there if you want to. I always just kind of take it off. You can even cut this up and make, burn ends if you want to. I'm going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. So we got one short rib right here. We're just going to go ahead and cut this off, square it up. Like so. And then we're going to dress this up too. So as you can see, we got this big old hunk of nothing right here. Go ahead and cut that off as well. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get the big chunks of fat on here because it's just gonna, I don't know, it, in my opinion, it just doesn't taste good. It's a mushy mess. Speaking of mushy, this is not a fall off the bone recipe or a 3-2-1 recipe or whatever. Some people like that. Personally, I don't. It's all right, but I like my ribs to have a little bit of an oomph to them, a little bit of bite. I like to bite into my ribs, and they hold their shape and stuff like that. To me, fall off the bone ribs are mushy and gross. So getting back to it, like I mentioned before, these ribs are actually pretty squared up as they are. Normally, you would have a big old flap out here or over here somewhere, and you would zip that off too, and then I guess they do have the free floating bones. So you got your floating ribs right here, and we're just going to come over here and cut this little flab off right there. I don't know if you can see in there, but those little floating ribs, I'm not a real big fan of those. We're just going to square that up. So that's it. That's pretty much how you trim out your spare ribs. Now we're going to get the seasoning. I might take a little bit more time off camera to get some of this small stuff right here, but we'll be back shortly. All right, y'all, so we're back. So I just went back through and kind of divvied out a lot of that fat that were in between the ribs right here. And I came over here and I just cleaned this up a little bit more without taking a whole bunch of meat off. So we're going to get the seasoning. So first things first is I like to start with a binder, standard yellow mustard. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. I'm just going to do a little coat on here like so. And I like to season my ribs 3 ways. So I'm going to start with a coarse black pepper. Then I'm going to come in with like an all-purpose seasoning, basically just salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of onion powder, and then the actual rub itself. So we got this 16 mesh coarse black pepper. Got this over at the Academy, and we just want to do a nice even coat on this. Nothing super crazy heavy. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit of a crunch on your crust. We'll pat that in. Come in with some all-purpose seasoning. I like this Killer Hogs, but anyone will do. So this one is going to be a little bit more liberal than the coarse black pepper, but where we're really going to get down is going to be the actual rub itself. I found this again at Academy, Big Mo Casing competition rib rub, by far the best rib rub in my opinion. And trust me, I've tried a few. But we're going to come in here and we're just going to douse this joker down real nice and liberal. Make sure that we're covering every little bit that we can. And we're just going to repeat the process on the other side. I like to start with my meat side down because that is the portion that I want to sweat in the most. And that's going to be the portion that I'm going to be throwing on the grill first. We're flipping over now. Make sure we pat that in good. I've seen a bunch of that seasoning falling down. I want to go flip. So we're meat side up now. Same deal. All right, a little bit of mustard as a binder. I'm gonna kind of clean this glove off a little bit here, so a bunch of stuff ain't sticking to it. Spread that out. Of course, black pepper. Again, just an even coat. Ain't got to be super thick on there. This is going to give you a nice little crunch, nice peppery taste. That's going to help with that bark. Pat that in. All-purpose seasoning. Salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder. Not as thick as your rub, but you season how you like it. Do whatever you want to do. Pat that in there. And if you want to, you can lift up and get the sides. To me, that's not a deal breaker. I don't know about you, but I don't eat the tops of my ribs. But while we're here, might as well, you know. All right, so I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna get the pit boss all fired up, and I'm gonna let these sweat. And I'm gonna let these sweat for about 20 or 30 minutes while the pit boss is getting up to temp. And then we're gonna throw these jokers on and get to smoking. So stick around, we'll be right back. All right, y'all, so we're out here. We got the Pit Boss Navigator Series 850. We're getting this joker fired up. I'm going to be smoking on 250. Realistically, on this top rack right here, it's going to be probably around 210 to 215 on this side, and probably 220 to 225 on this side. It's fine. Naturally, you're going to have hot and low spots, which is why I like to use these right here. These are just some, these are some cheap oven style thermometers. I like to place these next to the meat so I get a pretty accurate reading of how my temperature is distributing throughout the cook. But once this gets up to temp and those get done sweating out, we're going to come out here, throw these jokers on, and get to smoking. So y'all stick around. All right, y'all, so we've got our ribs out here nice and sweated in. You can see that right there. These already smell absolutely amazing. We got our pit boss rolling at 250. As I said before, it's about 205. It's just under 225, which is fine. So throw these on meat side up, just like so. And then I'm just going to bunch these together, just like that. And I'm going to let these go for about an hour, hour and a half. I'll probably come out here in an hour, come and check them out, check my bark, maybe give them a little spritz, and then we'll go from there. All right, y'all, it's been a little bit, right, kind of at an hour. Just coming out here, checking our bark. Still just a touch wet, but that's all right. It's not really rubbing off. So I'm gonna come over here, just some regular old water, nothing crazy. We're just gonna spritz Not too heavy. Just like so. And we'll come out here probably another, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. We'll probe test, see what our temp's at, and then we'll either flip, or we will pull, wrap them up, and then throw them back on the smoker. So y'all stick around. We're about a quarter of the way through the cook. All right, y'all, it's been about 30 minutes. And temps is sitting about 147 on the smaller side. And that sounds not that bad either. 137 on this back side. So what I'm going to do, since this is the smaller, thinner side, is I'm going to flip this, let these cook for about another 30 minutes or so, and then we'll likely be pulling these off for a wrap. So got those there. I'll let these go. We got a little bit of splitting right here, no big deal. Let's come in, a little spritz, like so. Let these go for about another 30-45 minutes. Get that temp up to 165, and then we'll be able to pull these off and wrap. So, all right, y'all, these things are smelling and looking absolutely amazing. I'm gonna get these wrapped up, put a little bit of a glaze on them, then throw them back on the grill. Now, to make this glaze, super simple. All you gotta do is pick you out a barbecue sauce. I'm gonna use this Blue Hogs Smoky Mountain. It's like a nice smoky kind of flavor, like hickory, got a little bit of a kick to it. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of honey in there. And then also, I'm gonna throw in a little bit of hot sauce. Just to thin it out, not a whole lot. I like Texas Pete. We're just gonna mix this all together. Get it nice and incorporated. And we want this to be fairly thin, but not like watery, but not as thick as the barbecue sauce itself. So we're just gonna lay this down like so. We're gonna spread this out. Try to get it as even as possible here. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. Actually, it shouldn't be a whole lot. This is just to help promote the cooking process, add a little bit of flavor and moisture. And then what we're going to do here is we're going meat side down. Right on top of that, as you can see, our bones are already starting to poke through just a bit. And we're just going to add the rest of that glaze. I don't know why I said that like that. That glaze to the backside right here. Make a little bit more here. Just so we're evenly coated. bunch on here, because once we pull this off again, we'll come back with some more sauce and let that get tacked up. Right from there, just gonna wrap. So nice and tight. And this is gonna go back on the grill. All right, y'all. So we got meat side down with the thicker side to the left like we did before, because it's a little bit lacking on temperature. Now we still got this cranked at 250. However, the actual temp is about 225-ish. And then over here looks about like 210, which is exactly like I said before, and that's just knowing your pit. You're gonna have hot spots throughout. That is just learning how your pit operates. So we've got this wrapped up, and we are going to let this go till about 190, 200, and then we're going to pull, we're going to sauce it up, and then throw it back on here for another 20 minutes or so to let the sauce get tacked up. Now whenever I pulled these, the left side was about 167 and the right side was 173. That's fine. The right side is thinner than the left. No big deal. So we're going to go for about an hour and check the temperature. And then we'll either pull and then sauce, or we'll let it go until our desired temp. So y'all hang around. We're almost there. All right, y'all. So just check these a little bit ago, and they're sitting at about 185, 190. You can see our bones are poking through a little bit. Not done just yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to take these out of the foil. We're going to sauce them up, throw them back on, let the sauce get tacked up until they reach an internal temp of 200 to 203. Then we're going to pull and rest. So I'm going to come here.
Nope.
Sorry about that. Had to run in and go and get my tongs. Now this, you can just toss this away. You won't be needing this anymore. So we'll set this off to the side over here. But wow. Look at these things, y'all. Absolutely amazing. Now, one thing to note whenever you're saucing up your ribs, be mindful that your internal temp is going to drop, because you're putting a liquid onto the ribs. And why that does that is due to evaporation. It is a form of cooling. So just keep that in mind. If you go to do this and you go to probe your ribs real quick and they've dropped down to, 160 or so. But as I mentioned before, I don't like a real saucy rib. Just a light drizzle. We're just getting this evenly coated onto here. Just look at these things, y'all. Absolutely amazing. Glistening. Anyways, we're going to throw these back onto the grill. Holding at 250. We're going meat side up. And we're going to let these go until they reach an internal tip of 200 to 203, which should be about an hour. With this being pulled at about 185, 190. So I'm going to get these jokers back on here, and I'll see y'all here shortly. Alright, y'all, it's been a little bit over an hour. Take a look at these jokers here. Godly. Alright. So tender. Right on the money. Oh, look at that bend right there. Shoo, buddy. These things are absolutely amazing. Got a ribs poking through the back. Great mahogany color. Glistening from the juices. Alright, so we're going to let these jokers rest for probably about 30 minutes or so. Finish whipping up the sides. Making some homemade jalapeno cheddar cornbread from scratch. No jiffy. And whenever all that gets done, we'll go ahead, cut into these jokers, and see how they taste. Alright, so what's going on, guys? We're back inside. Just finished up the sides. We've been letting this sit for about 25 to 30 minutes. As you can see, these things have turned out absolutely amazing. Got our bones sticking out here. Nice mahogany color, like I mentioned outside. Sauced up, but it's not going to be a mess. And the best part about this is wherever you bite into this, it's going to hold firm, and it's not going to be mushy like those fall off the bone style ribs. I always seem to mess this part up. Great smoke ring. Cut you off another one here. It's crazy tender. Nice, juicy. Like I said before, it's not going to be a mess whenever you take you a bite. I apologize for the mouth sounds because I get a little autistic about it myself. But these things are absolutely amazing. Tender, juicy, amazing flavor. You get that nice crunch from the coarse black pepper, and obviously the smoke. We smoked these for about 5 hours.
Nope.
And with hickory pellets, and it's home run every time. Oh. I could sit here and eat this whole rack in front of y'all. But going back to what I said earlier, Chase, if you follow this step by step, your ribs are going to be money every single time. Don't matter what kind you make. You got any questions? Holler at me. Comment down below. Hit the subscribe button, like, tell your friends, or don't. Whatever. But thanks for joining me. This is Taz from Take It Outside. Y'all have a good one.